Bonjour à toutes et à tous, merci de nous rejoindre au sein de l'amphithéâtre Louis pour cette troisième et dernière journée du Paris Defense and Strategy Forum. Alors nous allons poursuivre tout au long de la journée notre réflexion sur un thème majeur, l'Europe à la croisée des chemins. Et nous allons accueillir encore aujourd'hui ici à l'amphithéâtre Louis des personnalités de haut niveau pour tenter de projeter ensemble l'Europe de demain en repensant les alliances et les coopérations, en appréhendant les nouveaux enjeux régionaux et géopolitiques et en créant les nouveaux outils et nouvelles technologies qui feront la différence. Je vous rappelle que vous pourrez poser à la fin de chaque table ronde vos questions. Il vous suffira de lever la main et on vous fera passer un micro pour que vous puissiez poser vos questions. N'hésitez donc pas pour cette première table ronde. Une première table ronde donc qui va se tenir dans un instant au cœur d'une Europe bousculée par la guerre et la montée des populismes. C'est vers la jeunesse que le secteur de la défense et de la sécurité tourne son regard pour construire le jour d'après de cette Europe à la croisée des chemins. La jeune génération a un rôle essentiel à jouer, mais comment lui parler ? Comment la séduire? Alors nous allons ce matin plus particulièrement nous intéresser au secteur du renseignement, si précieux pour assurer la défense et la sécurité européenne. Comment adapter les formations académiques traditionnelles pour recruter et fidéliser les jeunes? Quel code emprunter après le succès de plusieurs fictions à succès, notamment le Bureau des légendes en France? Comment concilier culture des jeunes générations et culture des services de sécurité? Pour en parler, nous allons donc accueillir notre premier panel de la journée, Renseignement, capter les jeunes talents, Intelligence, how to attract the young talents. Nous avons le plaisir d'accueillir Novella Onofri de l'Italian Intelligence Academy, Ruben Arcos de l'université Juan Carlos à Madrid, Rokas Valentina Vicius donc, qui est étudiant à la Vilnius University mais qui a également gagné le concours Intelligence Officer for a Week. Et cette table ronde va être modérée par Cristina Ivan de l'Académie du renseignement roumain. On peut les applaudir.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for being here this morning. I know it's really early, and especially for the young people in the room, this has been quite a sacrifice to make, so very happy that you are here with us. The idea of the roundtable on youth and intelligence, although it may seem a little bit unusual for a college in intelligence that is specifically training practitioners and experts in studies, in intelligence studies, has come to us because we have carried out a number of studies within the framework of the college on what are the consumption patterns of young people with respect to information. How do they like to learn? What could their innovative minds bring to the development of intelligence studies, but also to the development of the profession? And that's why, because we had all these studies carried out in Romania, my country, that's why I'm here, but also Spain and Italy and some in Malta and France and Lithuania, it came to us like a shift of paradigm. We realized that we need to discuss a little bit more about what are the training and education methods that should be used in order to get better practitioners for the future, but also about how can the young people help the intelligence community provide better awareness in terms of society to security threats like disinformation and hybrid threats and foreign information manipulation, just to name some of the buzzwords that we are using a lot these days. And for this reason, we have gathered up this roundtable, which although we have an empty space there, you will see that it's quite balanced because we have with us a very good and quite famous, I think, professor in intelligence studies, Ruben Arcos from University Rey Juan Carlos. Ruben is an associate professor with the School of Communication Science of the University Rey Juan Carlos, and also a visiting professor with EU International Relations and Diplomacy Studies Department of the College of Europe in Bruges. He's a faculty of the PhD program in international security at the National Distance Learning University in Spain, and he holds a lot of other positions like chair of ISA and for this year, chair of IAFI Europe as well. And that's why we wanted to have him on board, because he's one of those professors that is also involved in research and has done a lot of programs. I think we actually have one program now in which we are looking at the innovative training methods for young people. So, yes. Ruben, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Christina. Thank you also to the Intelligence College in Europe for the very kind invitation of this opportunity, being here with all of you. Yeah, so we have been collaborating quite a long time in different research projects, different funding schemes under European Commission. So one is this that Christina is just mentioning, an Erasmus Mundus Joint Master that hopefully we will be submitting very soon. But we have been designing together this program, this Erasmus Mundus design measures, and particularly focus on intelligence and technology, but also the governance of these technologies and how we can approach it also in a critical way, not just accepting all the technological developments. And we are seeing this, for example, and perhaps I can introduce this idea, Christina, on the big companies, the technology that is in the hands of the big companies, and because this is not entirely well, regulated, and also the actors are not precisely, the big actors are not precisely in Europe. We also are facing big challenges with this regard. So this put us on the side of the foreign information manipulation and interference, disinformation, misinformation, which I think it is a really huge challenge for our societies, as we are seeing. But pleasure to be here in this panel and elaborating with you all on these ideas. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ruben. I'll get back to you with a lot of questions, but before that, I would like to introduce our second panelist, our very young member of the Intelligence College in Europe, Rokas Valentinavicius. Am I saying right?
Yeah,
okay.
That's correct.
Good. Rokas is a third-year undergrad student at the Institute of International Relations and Political Science in Vilnius University. He undergone a lot of internships and mentorships that he will tell you all about in different Lithuanian government institutions, and is currently completing an internship with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Lithuania. But he also won quite a big prize from the Intelligence College in Europe and his university, and therefore I will just give Rokas the floor.
So thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you to the Intelligence College Europe for this great opportunity. As far as I'm aware, I'm the youngest ever speaker at this conference, so it's quite a big opportunity for me. So, and yes, as you mentioned, so in Lithuania we had a collaboration between my university, Vilnius University, Intelligence College Europe, and the State Security Service to be a so-called it was intelligence officer for a week. So the state security agencies sent a lot of professionals to talk about what is intelligence, how it's formulated, how to gather data, how to then to present the data to officials and foreign governments and so on and so forth. And at the end of the week, the students, the third-year students of international relations, had to formulate a two-page document that was specifically presented to government officials, and it had to closely resemble an intelligence report. So thankfully, we managed to win that, and our theme was, still quite important. It was about the shadow fleet, the Russian shadow fleet, and I think that, just talking about that, for us Lithuanians and the whole Baltic Sea region, it's a very important issue. We don't have a lot of incidents concerning shadow fleet, but the main line, the main course that the shadow fleet vessels take actually courses through the Baltic Sea. And when the ships are really old, they don't have proper insurance, and complete those STS transmissions, those ship-to-ship transmissions of oil in open waters, it's first and foremost an ecological, it could bring a huge ecological disaster, and of course it's a national security issue for us. So yeah, and I think that that's a really important part to that at least my university, and thanks to Intelligence College Europe, brings a lot of professionals to talk to younger audiences, and then to introduce intelligence as a different subgroup of professionals to us at a young age. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Rokas. I just want to say to the young people in the room that with the Intelligence College in Europe, we'll have a lot of competitions and prizes in the coming years. So stay tuned to our website because you might find interesting and challenges for you. And with that, I'm going to go to our third panelist, and you will see why I said that this is a very balanced roundtable, because we have a professor, we have a student, and we also have an expert, a practitioner that was kind enough to come and stay here with us for this discussion. I also have to say that Novella is one of the founding mothers of the college. She was there almost from the beginning, and she was also the coordinator of the presidency, the Italian presidency of the college a couple of years ago, which was not an easy task to do because we were at the beginning and we had a lot of things to set up. And being also a graduate in political science, and since she has worked with the Italian intelligence agency for a long number of years, and developing a lot of programs in consolidating security culture, we think that Novella is also the best person to speak about not only the Italian experience, but how you can promote security culture across Europe. Novella, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the Intelligence College for giving us this unique opportunity to develop this kind of issue that is so important. It's getting more and more important. And it's also giving me the opportunity to share with you some of the aspects that we are following in Italy concerning the promotion of culture of security towards the young. And promotion of culture of security are some actions that they intend to build a bridge between intelligence and the civil society. They intend to convey a clear perception of what intelligence is, what intelligence does, which are the main threats. And usually these kind of activities have a specific target that is an adult one. So I mean public administration, private institutions, government, media, while in Italy we decided to broaden the scope, to enlarge this audience and to include also an unusual but strategic one, that is the youth. As of course in Italy, but I also think in any other country, youth are an asset, are an opportunity, are also a challenge. They are digital native, they are tech savvy, they are overwhelmed with any kind of information, they are flooded with data, with inputs of every kind 24/7. So we think that nowadays they really need even more information than the previous generations did. That's why we believe that intelligence nowadays really plays a great role, as we have to foster a better knowledge, we have to foster a greater understanding of mission, of tasks, and of course of threats, because they are so different in comparison with the past. In the past, usually threats were against institutional targets, let's say, while today they encompass everything, every aspect of our life. So also for the young is so important to have knowledge of this. And of course it is important to try to explain what intelligence can do for the youngest generation, and what also the younger people can do for intelligence. And all this is aimed, let's say, at building a bridge, building trust. Building trust based on transparency, based on inclusivity, and also involvement, because we think that the most important thing is try to speak their own language. And so see, if this is for the youngest, we also keep an eye to the very youngest. I mean the kids, children. Also they deserve a little bit of a promotion of culture of security. Obviously here the aim is a little bit different, because for us it's important to leave a footprint, to plant a seed that together with the standard education given by the national schools, together with the civic education, this can all contribute to form an aware, prepare, critical, maybe more resilient citizen of tomorrow. And in Italy, we are organizing a lot of activities for the youth, and they are obviously depending on the age, on the needs, on the characteristics. And what is important for me to underline today with you is that we are not organizing these activities by ourselves, but we have important partners, important institutional partners, and I mean the Minister of Education and the Minister of University and Research. And we shared with them our programs, we signed formal agreements, and this is really important because it gives a sort of framework, of coordinated framework, and it gives even more stability, even more effectiveness to what we are trying to carry out, and obviously to the students, but our aim is not only the students, but the school system, the university system, I mean professors, teachers, school principals, deans. So to sum up, in Italy we believe the promotion of cultural security is really becoming nowadays increasingly relevant, and it's important to start as soon as possible. It's important to start at a very early age. Thanks.
Thank you, Novella. I think this issue of reaching out to young students, but also to young kids, is very important, and it's something we've been trying to do all across our nations, and I'm sure that perhaps some of the people in the audience also have their own experience, and perhaps you would like to share them with us. Just to tell you how things are going to work out here, I'm going to ask them a couple of questions, and then you can shoot. So you can ask them whatever you want. But for the... Almost, okay. We can answer whatever we want, but the questions can be addressed. I'm joking. Now, before we go to the very first question of the panel, just by listening to you, I was thinking whether all of you can think and reflect a little bit on what would be those promising practices that you have seen implemented in these programs for outreach that you have seen across your countries, and that you think might be applicable to other countries as well, so that we can perhaps make a sort of a European toolkit. And perhaps we can start with Ruben or Novella. Okay. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, well, my experience is mostly on the side of, higher education, university, different countries. First, of course, in Spain. I remember when we were introducing intelligence studies in Spanish universities. Probably the first, approach was thinking in what potential students, what potential degrees, what potential fields of knowledge will be, more interested in this with this regard. Also with the idea of, solving a little bit this image of the spy, the misrepresentations, and that confusing what perhaps a human agent is doing with the whole staff of what is doing an intelligence service, the mission, the function. Because we were thinking that perhaps was the initial approach. Particularly, we were aiming to journalists. Kind of developing a better, an image that is more realistic about the intelligence profession. So we started a course in my university, University Rey Juan Carlos, that included also the presence of some intelligence officers, but also some visit to the National Intelligence Center in Spain. After that, we developed a master program in intelligence analysis, and that was, I think that was, I'm speaking here about the year 2009, 2010. That was the first academic program, master program in intelligence analysis. But we have been also developing courses and activities in the form of conferences aimed at other kind of audiences. In my case, I have been as well very much involved in developing programs in other countries. So, for example, I was working in a project funded by the European Commission, and the whole aim was to develop the first intelligence and security program in Georgia before this turmoil, But that was another example that I can bring. But then most recently, by working at the College of Europe in Bruges, this was a course introduced by a former head of analysis at EU INSEN, José Miguel Palacios. And this first course was organized in the year 2014 as a compact seminar, not as a full subject course, but just 8-hour course. And now it has grown with the idea of developing professional skills. So what can intelligence provide in the resume, in the curriculum of the students that are aiming to work perhaps for EU institutions in the future, and what specific competencies can intelligence bring to them. So one of the approaches is, of course, putting them in the role of performing, developing analysis and assessments based on real cases, ongoing real cases. I remember, for example, last year, one of the things that they were discussing was, okay, what was the perspective and implications for the interest of the European Union of developments in, in different countries. I'm not going to name the countries here, but they were doing this. Or the impact of elections and things that they can monitor using open sources, because this is also the challenge with intelligence education. They are not going to get access to classified material, but with open sources you can develop decent assessments based on the structure and the kind of analytical products developed by different communities. So getting them familiar, because maybe they are not going to perform intelligence in the future, but they are going to be consumers. They are going to be the clients in the institution. So I think that's very, very important, providing that perspective. On the approaches, I think that something very important is that the professor adopts the role of the facilitator rather than directly transmitting the stuff through just master classes. In my experience, it's very important to think in terms of facilitating the learning experience of the student. So you are not the important one in the academic environment. The important one is the student, and you need to think in, okay, what specific competencies I want to develop, and then you design the activities. Also very important to bring case study analysis, historical case studies, and discuss them in order to highlight the relevance or some aspect. So all these methodological approaches, the methodological devices are very important. My observation is that when students work together and perform a particular activity together and discuss, this experience makes them more engaged. And then the instructor should be thinking and structuring the session by coming with some questions before that experience to make them reflect and elaborate together. And this sharing aspect is very important for advancing the learning and putting the concepts in the mind for a long period. So I think that interaction is very, very, very relevant. Yeah.
I totally agree that interaction is the most important. And in all the projects that we have done together, we have seen that perhaps some of the practices that might work, and I'm going to turn to Rokas to tell me whether I'm right or wrong, but in all the research projects that we have carried out together, most of them, experiential learning was one of the promising practices that needs to be advanced more in terms of programs. And then immersive virtual learning, we even explored, for instance, escape rooms in which people can learn about intelligence practices and know about. And then we also looked in some of the projects at different coaching techniques, because it's obvious, for me at least, that if we keep talking, young people are not going to listen. But if you get involved into the experience and we rather ask questions than just talk, then it's going to work a lot better. So I'm turning to you to ask you what works actually for the young people in your perspective, and maybe some of the audience can also relate to us.
Yeah. So to build up on what Ruben said. So because it's only been 3 years since I finished school, so I still have some experience from that. So in Lithuania, at least, we have a lot of governmental institutions that participate in a so-called back-to-school program. It's mainly organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but intelligence agencies, other ministries also join in, governmental institutions, NGOs also join into that. And professionals of their specific side come back to schools that they actually graduated from and talk about their experience in their governmental field. So, for example, when I was a student, I think there was at least 3 diplomats that came to our school, and one was from the Ministry of Culture, so it doesn't really matter for me that much now. But so a lot of professionals come back to schools and tell their experience to students that they are developing, and it has a lot of impact on what they think about that specific profession. If we educate students at a young age on what intelligence is or foreign service, diplomacy is, then they could understand what the decision makers that are in government are doing, why are they doing so, and well, it just develops the critical thinking of a student, then can bring it to the university and well develop as a professional of that specific side. And in Lithuania, well, we have just recently, I think it was a month ago, our intelligence service signed an agreement with the universities, at least 3 universities in Lithuania. Couldn't tell them from the top of my head, but they incorporate their material in their curriculum, and when they finish university, they have an easier path to become intelligence officers. So they're students of international relations or political science, and the course is closely based with what the intelligence service wants them to learn, and because of that, well, it's an easier path to become an intelligence officer at a young age, because it's a problem in Lithuania. Median age of an intelligence officer in Lithuania is 43 years old. And the oldest serving member of the intelligence service is 71 years old. Just imagine that. So it's a big problem for us. But right now, because of the geopolitical situation, I'm gonna borrow a saying that was once said from one of the government officials, that Lithuania is like the wall. The Baltic states are like the wall from Game of Thrones. So we're the north, and beyond the wall, it's the wildlings. And because of that, we have to prepare ourselves. And because we're so close to them, it's always a threat to us. Of course, we want to feel safe. And if we want to feel safe, we have to develop our own intelligence officers, our own military officers as well. So we have to take it into our own hands. And like once our former president Dalia Grybauskaitė said, we have to stop shivering, because we have to take it upon ourselves to develop as a nation. And once we do that, then we could feel more safe in our region.
Right, okay, quite impressive. And yeah, coming from the same north, I can say that I can very much relate to this experience. In our case, we've had these awareness programs for young people for, I think, 10 or 15 years now, and they've been working well up to a point. Obviously, it's not the same kind of experience, because we also have an intelligence academy that is already preparing in BA, MA, and PhD programs students that will become also practitioners in intelligence, but we also have programs working with other universities. But there was one thing that made me ask this question, and that is one project that together with Rey Juan Carlos University and University of Malta, we have carried out in a couple of years ago. It was actually the Dominoes project, which just ended last year, yeah. in which we looked at how we can train young people to become resilient to disinformation and propaganda, and what kind of digital and critical thinking skills and perhaps emotional thinking skills people need in order to become resilient. And we did a little bit of an experiment at the beginning of this project, which was we put a lot of articles and posts in front of our students and asked them what they think was false and what was true. What was fake news and what was true. And they were pretty good, which was very encouraging for us because it seemed like they kind of have the competence. And then we kind of expected that at the end of this course, everything will be so much better, that their competencies will grow in such a way that they will be the experts to train other experts afterwards. But at the end of the course, what we realized by doing another test of competencies is that young people became very much suspicious. Not necessarily more competent, but very suspicious with everything that they have read, which can be good because it's the kind of mind frame that puts you into checking the sources and checking the content and trying to see who's behind it. But then it can also be a vulnerability if you're turning towards conspirational theories. And that made us look into different practices, and that's why I asked about the best practices or the promising practices. Because in our experience, looking at serious gaming, for instance, was something that we kind of hurried at the beginning. It sort of showed that people can be inoculated and become resilient. It's like, building your immunity. But then when you look at the kind of resilience that leaves over time, you realize that unless you inoculate over and over and over again, people are going to lose it. In like 1 month, it goes to half of the competence that you had at the beginning, and then in another 3 months, it's just not there anymore. And that made me think that perhaps we don't angle this idea of creating resilience and a solid security structure culture from a point of view that relates to young people. Maybe we are, again, doing a lot of conferences, doing a lot of training, talking a lot about the topic, but maybe there is something else out there that needs to be taken into consideration. So, and in this I'm thinking that young people have a lot to say in terms of innovative thinking, of challenging the status quo, obviously, as always, but also bringing their intuitive understanding of emerging technologies, which we don't, social media landscapes, which we kind of do half of it, maybe, and online behavior patterns, which are the essential elements for intelligence organizations today, and I'm not very sure that we are very well prepared to do that. So I'm going to turn to Rokas again and ask him this very difficult question. In your experience, what do you think should be those promising practices that we should incorporate in our dialogue with young people and integrating their experience to get better organizations? I know you'll become the director of one intelligence service if you answer that, but...
Well, I can safely say that, young people are more adept with social media as a whole. So, for example, it's not only that maybe we know better than how to use it, or, for example, what channels to use to better access some specific data, or what to search for instantly. But the main thing, I personally think that it's communications, because if we build up on that, young people have a pretty close connection with social media nowadays, and because of that, it's easier for young people to attract other young people. So it's a kind of a trickle-down method. If you hire younger professionals, then the younger professionals could provide content that attracts other young professionals. So I think that social media in this way is a very good recruitment tool if used correctly. For example, I'm going to give an example from our intelligence service, National Intelligence Service. So I think half a year ago, they actually created a comic book to build up on national pride, and our first republic since 1918. So they talked about an intelligence officer that actually provided the first took the first Declaration of Independence to our signatories, as it was a secret operation, and they created a comic book for younger generations, I think 7 to 10 years old, and just to show that, well, you see, this is our nation's pride, an intelligence officer. So if we build up on that, so I think we can achieve a lot more, because you attract a younger audience from a younger age that is deeply interconnected with social media and can bring a lot to the table.
I so totally agree. But it's good that we can create tools like graphic novels, and we were also thinking of comedy books as well, and perhaps other formats of training. The thing is how you can test the way in which they actually have an impact or not. And I think Ruben would like to say something about it.
Yeah, I think that there are many ways that we have not explored enough yet. I think that this is a very good idea indeed. Anything related to tales, to telling stories. For example, when it's about audiovisual, you know, the way, for example, that the camera is positioned, or the way that the realizateur is doing the stuff, makes you feel identified with the main characters. So carefully thought, I think they are really persuasive device, the use of movies or TV series. I'm particularly interested in the documentaries. I think they can be very good. I can put an example. I saw some months ago one in one of our platforms in Spain, which is the aid of Iraq, which is, I think, a really good collaboration between a filmmaker and a production company, together with some experts within the National Intelligence Service. I think the result is really good, and it's telling the story of, you know, a sad story, but really gets you close to the things, the way that they happen. So we are all very familiar with different movies that we can highlight. For me, it's also very, very interesting to use, you know, tabletop exercises and simulations, because that way you discuss with a group of people in a structured way things that are, you know, not exactly the same as reality, but they are mimicking aspects of reality. Or, for example, I can bring here an example. I was designing one. This one was more related to disinformation and FIMI for a Canadian Association for Security and Intelligence Studies. And basically, you invent a world. You create a kind of Game of Thrones that mimics situations that we are observing in reality. And maybe you are not, it's not exactly the same, but will you know, as a participant in the simulation, you will be getting familiar, so that you can recognize early signals, indicators of particular scenarios, the way that they unfold. So once you have this kind of experience, I think that the learning comes, you know, really, really well. And is quite established, and then you reflect on that experience. So that's another one, and also the introduction of, you know, for example, you are doing distance learning, teaching, the introduction of MOOCs, massive open online courses. We have been exploring this with the Mihai Viteazul National Intelligence Academy, with the University of Malta, and also with other stakeholders in the projects, and we have developed 2 of them. Focus on strategic communications and disinformation, and I think that they are quite successful in terms of, you know, you might not have the time to go to a full course, but you can do it at your own pace at home, and you can get different publics, you can target different publics thanks to these kind of courses. Of course, production then is not, you know, you need some resources, but I think it is well worth.
Novella, would you like to add anything on it?
There are so many things that can be done, and we've seen also in our experience that the most important one is trying to speak their own language. So we, for instance, in Italy, in our academy, the academy is devoted only to the intelligence officers, so it's not open to normal people. But we tried also with single university to sign agreements to organize things like a hackathon, like capture the flag, initiatives that can grab the attentions of these young students that maybe are more, they have more habit in changing ideas, in changing things, and they are so thrilled with many inputs. So it's important to involve them in their own field. So this is what we have organized, and we are still organizing, yes.
Okay. I'd like to change a little bit the perspective here, because you were mentioning Game of Thrones, and I kind of like that a lot. If we're thinking of the current geopolitical context, it's not necessarily that the east of Europe is becoming the north, it's that Europe is becoming the north. And in this sense, I think we need to consider a lot of other series of competencies and abilities and practices that young intelligence officers should not only display, but be built with. And that's why training is becoming important. So my next question would be, for you would be, what are those core competencies, those foundational skills that you consider are important today in the training of an intelligence officer that can respond to that kind of threat, which is a little bit unprecedented for the past, I don't know, maybe 80 years?
You want to take this one?
Yeah, I could take it.
Sure, put the young guy up front.
Yeah, so I think that I'll start again from a national perspective. So Ruben mentioned large companies, and for example, Lithuania and the Baltic states and the rest of the Europe now are experiencing a lot of cyber attacks by Russia, and well, it's kind of their forte. And Lithuania has a lot of good and up-and-coming or already established cybersecurity agencies. One of them is our unicorn. It's the company that created NordVPN, Nord Securities. And so their integration into our national security to educate younger audiences about cybersecurity, about the cyber climate and how everything is changing constantly, and how cybersecurity is in a bad position right now because of the constant cyber attacks that are happening everywhere in Europe. So I think that cybersecurity is a must for a young professional, up-and-coming young professional, so that they could understand the social and the cyber environment better. And also, I think that a lot of it has to depend on, well, communications as well, because you have to reach wider audiences right now, because as you mentioned, it's not, right now it's becoming a problem for Europe. Some 10 years ago, probably it was a problem for Eastern Europe. Now it's becoming more and more widely accepted that it's a problem for every one of us. So the communication that reaches a wider audience, the people at home that don't understand, or the people in Western Europe that feel that Russia is far away. So the communication has to reach them. Because, for example, talking about communications, one of our lecturers recently came back from Spain, as he taught in I think one of those Arcos programs or something like that, and he talked about how Spanish students don't understand why Lithuania is so hostile to Russia, and for us it's quite a funny thing, because we have a long and very tragic history with Russian occupation and reoccupation, and well, it's a hard and very difficult topic to discuss in Lithuania. So it's one of those things that it's ingrained in our brain from a young age that, well, here is the bear from the east. So for us, it's a non-discussion. But we have to be able to educate other people from different countries or even continents that Europe is, well, Russia is #1 enemy for us, and we have to be able to communicate it out of our region, of our continent. So I think that's the second thing.
Yeah, on the competencies, I think that we are lacking here a big framework on intelligence competencies, oriented intelligence education. This is something that we have been discussing also on ways to explore the development of something like that. But you might think in specific profiles of professionals in intelligence, and then see what are the big core things for those for performing those activities, the particular occupations or professions within the services. If you think in terms, for example, of analysis, of course you need to have good observation skills. You need to be able to evaluate information. You need to be able, of course, to collect information from different sources. You need as well to provide, some kind of context for interpretation of that incoming information. You need to be critical, but not just with other actors outside or with the information that others have written, but also being very critical with your own thinking processes. This is a thing that sometimes it's forgotten in the trainings about critical thinking. It's like, hey, first and foremost, it's about being critical with yourself, how you have arrived to particular conclusions, how you have developed a perspective, not just looking at outside. That's also very important. Very important, writing skills, having writing skills. If you are able to write, if you are able to communicate effectively, this is something very important. If you are able to put your thinking in written words, that is going to provide you also some clarity. You also need to handle a lexicon, an intelligence lexicon, a language that is being employed. How do you communicate uncertainty? Also, you need to challenge your own assumptions. How you, not only your own, but also the group assumptions. Because sometimes, when you have a people that is sometimes reinforcing your preconceptions, this can be harmful for getting a good picture of what is going on. But if you are thinking in international context and in cooperation, and I'm thinking here in the director of the Permanent Secretary of the Intelligence College in Europe, which is something that he highlights in his guest lectures for the College of Europe in Bruges, that there are probably particular skills that are more relevant if you are going to do relationships, international relationships and cooperations with your counterparts in other places. So this is something that programs should think first. The approach of thinking first in the competencies, and then we envision the competencies, and we agree on the competencies, and then we develop the programs. I think that's the correct approach. And then you are producing professionals with particular skills, rather than, on the contrary, just guessing or thinking that with the transmission or with educational programs we are going to achieve the results. I'm very fan of the evidence-based approaches and measuring stuff. I think that we should go to that path.
Right. I would just add here that when we want to align intelligence curricula with the current geopolitical landscape, we also have to take into account the fact that there is this elephant in the room, which is the artificial intelligence. And we've been teaching our students, and especially future analysts, that they need to have critical thinking, they need to develop their reflexive skills, they need to be very good at understanding the context. But now, with the advent of artificial intelligence, a lot of the data can be processed through software. And when we're teaching students, we also need to take into account the fact that they need to be very skillful in not only understanding a technology that is rapidly evolving, but understanding what is the zone in which they will always be better, perhaps, hopefully, than artificial intelligence, and what's that part of their education that should be perhaps left aside and be worked with different skills that involve digital skills. And here I'm thinking of the fact that while artificial intelligence can process a lot more data in such a short time, which we're never going to be able to do as analysts, it's yet not good with contextual data. And that's where the analyst should be probably trained to become so much better. And that means a lot of a more complex understanding of the geopolitical, international relations, societal factors and drivers that affect the dynamic of the security environment. And then I'm thinking that another thing that perhaps we are leaving aside, and it would be very good to incorporate more, is emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, relational intelligence. We've all been so much focused on, putting the brains into a very fine-tuned understanding of things. But when you are exposed to false information, when you are exposed to online informational bubbles, and it's also something that affects all of us, analysts included, you need that kind of emotional awareness of how these things are playing with your own feelings. And you need to understand through cultural intelligence what are, the symbols, those cultural drivers, the historical elements that are played by these actors, so that they can create a polarized dynamic within society. So perhaps, I don't know, it's just a question thrown to all of you actually. We should also reflect on how to change our curriculums to incorporate this as well. And with this, I think I will go to another section, which I will this time address more to Novella, but also to Rokas, which is what are the career expectations and how we can create intelligence careers that are attractive for young people. Rokas was mentioning that he has quite a high average age in the intelligence services in Lithuania. Perhaps it's not the case in Italy, I don't know. It's definitely not the case in my service. But still, I think the question that I would like to address to you is, what are those aspects of intelligence work that may be most appealing to emerging professionals today, and how would you present these to your audiences?
I think that first and foremost, regardless of the younger generation or the senior professionals, is patriotism. This, I think, is the key word, is the password. You have to love your country. You have to be willing to serve your country, to protect national security. So if you don't have this feeling, if you don't have this faith, you can even be the most talented person, but it's not what intelligence is working for, is searching for. Then, of course, intelligence is a cutting-edge environment. It has a cutting-edge technology, and it's always at the heart of the questions, completely up to date. So you know that you're working for a thing that is great, that you're constantly at the heart of the questions, or at the heart of what is going on in the world. But I think that the most important thing that you have to know is that you are not working to attract new clients, you are not working to make money, but you're working for the greater good that is the benefit of ourselves, the benefit of our country.
Right, so more of a less transactional but more emotionally fulfilling career.
Definitely.
Okay. What about Rokas? What do you think? How is it seen from your side?
At least for us in Lithuania, so I can definitely agree that patriotism definitely plays a big part in our in the state security service recruitment, because the medium wage isn't very high, let's just say that, as in all governmental institutions, at least in Lithuania. But the main thing that actually attracts people is the duty to serve, because our intelligence agency is, very, as you said, up to date. And every year our intelligence service provides around 70 to 100 page document. It's a national security threat assessment. And it's used only collected only with open source data and provided to the public. It's open to everyone. You can download it. It's in English if you want to read it. What's important to Lithuanians as well. In this case, at least this year, they used a lot of data that was compiled by artificial intelligence and was done mostly by young professionals. So the team that actually did it, I think the medium age was 27, which is pretty young for at least in our measurements. So if we can do that and see what these young professionals, up-and-coming professionals can actually achieve, creating a document that is publicly talked about in our media and our state media, and government officials are talking about it. It's done by young professionals, so it inspires other people to join up as well. As I said before, because of the geopolitical situation right now, it's also appealing because I see some people that are from the military here, so I think every military in Europe and the Western societies has a problem with recruitment. Young people either don't want to join up, or they're either medically or physically unfit to join. So our security service has a plan for the next 10 years. So we have a mandatory military service. Well, it's not mandatory, but you can be called up if your age is between 18 and 27. So, and if you cannot serve in the military because you don't pass your physical or you don't have the medical clearance to do so, if you really want to do it, you can join the intelligence service. Because you're a young professional, up-and-coming professional, you want to serve your country, but you can't do it on an open field, on a battlefield, complete your military training, so why not do it in intelligence? Every young person can use a computer, compile data, and so I think it's a really good option. I think some other countries could do it as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you for this inspiring words. Before I open the floor for discussions and for questions, I would just like to ask one more question, and the final one on my side, and that is about, because we have come to meaningful contribution, this is about what do you think should be done by intelligence organizations so that they can create pathways for young professionals to make meaningful contributions early in their careers and not just wait for, you know, the right title, rank, function, 45-ish years old to become somebody that can actually make a change in the organization? And what do you think are the barriers that prevent youth from fully engaging with intelligence community initiatives? And I promise it's my last, to all of you.
Well, actually, there are many things that can be done. I think for, you know, including and making the younger scholars interested in the field of intelligence and perhaps pursuing a career. I think that we need to think in two questions here. One thing is that what will be the purpose of intelligence education? Do we want the intelligence education to be kind of complementary to the work that is done by the service, and then you are thinking in just recruitment? Because I don't think that's the only pathway. Intelligence education can also do a lot of things in terms of building better citizens, showing citizens, you know, what intelligence is doing for them, what is the importance of the mission, Also telling a little bit on how it is regulated, oversight mechanisms. I think oversight, strong oversight, is also very important for making better, stronger services. Because if you identify potential ways to improve, to perform better, thanks to oversight, that is going to help us build stronger intelligence organizations. So part of that should be done by not just experts, but also the whole citizens through the representatives. I think introducing courses as well, in which political parties can participate, they can get familiarized with the functions. So no matter if you are on one of the side of the spectrum or political spectrum of the other, I think that's important. This is something that I'm missing in most of the activities, the participation of political leaders. That's something that we should certainly improve. But when it comes to younger population, it's like showing that, hey, here you have an option. If you are interested in serving your country, if you are interested in cooperating with others for something that is in the benefit of the whole community, which is security, defense, including the defense of the economic interest of the country. I think instilling that kind of spirit through is an important thing to do more for intelligence education, and particularly the participation of the services. And it's not just communicating with words or with reports, which is also, of course, very important in terms of transparency, but a lot of this is about relationship management, building strong relationships with different sectors in the country, in the community. So that's the relational aspect of communication that I am feeling more interesting, because I think this is leaving a really solid ground for the growth of different other things. That will be my view.
So I will develop the barriers. I think that we have really two main drawbacks for the youngest generation when they approach to the intelligence services. They are really big right now. And the first one is that working in the intelligence services means a permanent job, is a lifelong permanent job. And this was appealing maybe in our age when I was younger, so quite a long ago. And today is obviously it's the contrary. Young people are used to change, are used to make different experiences that this is an added value for them. So they're used since the high school and with Erasmus, going abroad for months or for a year. And then so changing is the habit, while obviously in the Secret Service, if you change, it's not a very good thing. So it's better to avoid this. And the other thing that is important to underline is it seems to be a secondary aspect, but it's not, and is the fact that nowadays youth, and not only youth, are used to being constantly interconnected 24/7. They are sharing aspects of their life, even private, friends, tastes, habits, vacation, whatever. And it's really difficult to make them understand that if they want to enter in such a difficult world, that they have to give up, or at least, if not give up, really make communication so light. And I think that is quite a paradox for the times in which we are living today. So I think these are the main barriers that I see. And if I can add something, as you probably understood, so we are not dealing with recruitment in the position that I have. So it's more promotion of a culture of security, and for us it is important to start an engagement with these young people, so as that when they come closer to consider the idea to enter, they are already formed. So we are pushing on this in different levels, in different range of ages, And if I can, I just wanted to highlight just an example, because we are also running programs for university. But this one that we are making right now, I think that can be important to share. And this is an exhibition that we are taking around in national schools that is made of booths, each one of which is devoted to a specific aspect of intelligence, such as history or organizations, Italian one, and maybe of the main foreign countries, the characters, positive and negative, Italian and foreign ones. And in the end, they can test themselves with the quiz. And they're all engaged in this, of course, and it's an interactive quiz, obviously. And so with questions with what they've seen, what questions on, even on brain questions, deductive questions, games. So in the end, they can test what kind of agents they are. And what is important for me to underline with you today is that this tour is led by intelligence officers. So we have young intelligence officers that are going together with these young students, and I'm speaking of teenagers. And this is important because they are at the same level. So they explain, they answer their questions, they start an engagement. And we started 2 years ago, and up to now, more than 5,000 students were involved. So it's probably a drop into the ocean, as we said, but it's something.
Thousands of students is not a drop in the ocean. It's quite impressive. Rokas, would you like to add anything? What does it seem on your side?
So, I'll definitely agree with Novella, because we have the same situation in Lithuania. So one of the misconceptions, I don't know if you can call them, but it's probably true. So that's still true in Lithuania, that well, intelligence service is a lifelong job. It's when the professionals that have been for quite some time in the intelligence service come to schools and talk about it, they usually compare it to diplomatic service. Once you get in there, you stay there, because well, it involves you so much that, well, you can't do really anything else unless maybe you go into a university and teach. So well, it's not a bad option as well, but in Lithuania, I think that one of the main drawbacks of intelligence service that it still has very steep and very well-defined institutional steps, that's so-called. So young professionals are going to be considered young professionals until they're not. So maybe 5 years, 10 years, it's the same as with foreign service. Until it's your first rotation to an embassy abroad, well, you're a young professional, and you're gonna you can express your opinion, but well, it's not, you can't understand if anyone actually hears it. So in Lithuania, those steps are really, really well defined. And it's a bad thing, and it's a drawback for young professionals to join up, because if you have friends there, they're definitely gonna tell you about it. So I think that it's also it could also change with the younger generations coming there, because they want to bring their own experiences, maybe from the private sector or the NGOs or universities, the organizations inside universities, and well, maybe it will change over the years, but for the foreseeable future, maybe 5 or 10 years, I don't see anything changing in that way. So it's going to be a drawback for younger individuals to join, but well, maybe it's a so-called Call of Duty.